from Summer Lake. That's just for Cameron.
Just for Cam.
Yeah, he called me out. I told him I was doing the podcast tonight, and he's like, 10 beers live from Summer Lake. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right.
Hilarious.
Gotta do that crap. What's going on, buddy?
Not a Jace, not at all. Not at all.
Good. Well, I'm Jason.
A lot of nothing, and I'm Gary.
We're the Portland Tin Beers. We're a little bit reckless tonight. It's going to be hang on to the edges of your chairs, folks.
Oh, boy.
We're going to go wild. How about those Portland Tin Beers?
The Tim Beers or the Timbers?
No, Tim Beers.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing guys.
How about their parties they throw?
Oh, lit.
Ragers. Yeah, we throw some pretty good parties, dude. What do we have, about 50 people? 40 people?
I couldn't even count.
Ridiculous.
All I know is it was off the rockers.
A lot of wieners. A lot of kraut. A lot of beer.
A lot of beer.
Yeah.
A lot of beer.
There was well over 10 gallons of beer drink with all the beer that was brought.
Yeah.
We brought back bottles, and we had a lot of bottles and cans we went through, plus the 2 kegs.
It was crazy.
Yeah, ridiculous.
So just crazy night.
Yeah.
Absolute blast, though.
Absolute blast. Yeah. Beer Olympics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good time.
Just another amazing party. That's all I got to say.
And a lot of wieners. No? Nothing?
Nope, not even swinging.
There was, dude. I had 2 8-foot-long wieners in my mouth at one point.
Just swinging.
So, yeah, we had a lot of good times at the Tin Beers Oktoberfest. Gary debuted his new tap handle.
Yeah, it was, and big, huge shout out to Jordan for making that tap handle happen. I kind of gave it to him short notice, and he really delivered on that. So thank you, Jordan, for that.
Yeah, it looked pretty stellar. So we got to do some stickers so you can get your patch off of that thing.
Yeah.
So have to work on that this weekend.
It came out amazing.
Well, let's see. What do we got on the show tonight? We'll talk a little bit about the Timbers, the playoff crash that we had. We'll talk a little bit about what should we do with the team, kind of our diagnosis of how to fix things for next year. Talk a wee little bit about the playoffs and what's going on with the MLS playoffs.
Yeah.
And then we've got some good beer talk, man. So I had a trip in here to Southern California, hung out with our buddy Rich and his wife, and hit the wine country, but managed to hit a few breweries as well down in Southern California.
Good to hear.
And then listener Tim, our mascot, pulled off an absolute coup, hanging out at the Thompson house for McMenamin's, enjoying some Black Widow, which we love here on the show. And Tim managed to connect with Jen, the world-famous Black Widow brewer, and pulled off an interview. So
amazing.
Yeah, wonderful little interview, and we'll play that too and give a nod out to Tim. So, and then we should shut down the show with about what we're brewing this weekend. I am brewing. Tim's been brewing like a fiend.
Like he hasn't like there's no tomorrow.
He's got like
brewing.
Pent up energy for the last 5 years. Jesus. So he's got like 30 gallons of beer he's brewed in the last 2 weeks,
which is nuts.
So
I don't know what the hell he's going to do with it all.
Spread around. Yeah, I mean, we'll get to that. So, all right, with that, let's jump into Hot Timbers talk.
Woo!
Timbers get knocked out by Salt Lake.
Yep.
You watch the game?
I watched parts of it.
Yeah, so it was the night of the Oktoberfest party.
Yeah.
So we had it on in the background. Everybody was very quiet. I would say that was the quietest part of the party.
It was.
Everybody kind of watching the last 45 of that. So Timbers get obliterated by Salt Lake and send Salt Lake on to face Seattle, but we lost 2-1. What did you think of the game?
Yeah, I think it was lackluster as usual. It was just like probably 95% of our other games that we played this year, where slow start, sloppy, get behind, manage to score a goal to recover, and then lose it defensively.
Yeah, it's again, we talked about it. The team squeaked in. The team was really anemic moving into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Really had no business being there. But that being said, Timbers came out very slow and asleep in the first 45.
Yep.
They looked absolutely dominant, them being Real Salt Lake. And then we scored one at the very end, but ultimately they scored more than us and move on to face Seattle. So,
Right. Yeah.
And it was snowing, and Clark played out of his mind, and there was all sorts of that stuff.
And then you got Asprilla, Mr. Playoff, showed up again, scored his goal. So.
Yeah, massive header off a corner kick in the 47th. So
absolutely
made
stellar.
things like close, but not really.
Right.
Rusnek was on par, and Savarino, and all of Salt Lake's guys. But it didn't matter because both of them got whacked by Seattle, or Salt Lake got whacked by Seattle.
Yeah, Nicky Raimondo played out of his mind in that game too.
In the Seattle game or our game?
In the Seattle game.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, 2-0, and Seattle moves on to face the winner of tonight's game, LAFC versus LA Galaxy.
That'll be an interesting finale.
Should be on right now on ESPN. I see that it got bumped right because of some college football. So it's on ESPN2, and we'll have to update you as the night goes on. But anyways, well, this team obviously needs some changes. So we talked about this all season and just kind of lacks some pizzazz and oomph and all that. They spent a lot of money on bringing a striker in with Brian Fernandez.
Yeah.
They jettisoned Armenteros and jettisoned some other players. And still nothing looks right. So let's play the fun game of who should we bring in just in time for when they bring some people in. We can play that fun game of
who's he most like?
Yeah, who's he most like? So with that, if you were king for a month, what would you do to tweak this roster?
Wow. That's really, really tough. I mean, we've just, the problem is we've got holes everywhere. And a lot of mediocrity everywhere that, and I'm probably going to catch a lot of hell for that, but when you look at the team as a whole, it doesn't gel, it doesn't do great. But if you look at individual players, there's some really standout play going on. But you got to put it all together, and we're not doing that as a team. We're going to have to look at replacing Diego Valeri at some point. When's that start?
Yeah. What do you do with Antonella and Clark? Let's start in the back.
You know, that's so tough because right now Clark, I mean, if you look at Clark all year long, he played out of his mind, pretty much. I would say he has the starting job next year.
Yeah, I mean, you got four guys sitting in the back, right?
Yeah.
So you have Antonella, who went out with his shoulder surgery.
Right.
Playing pretty good up to
that point.
I mean, kind of. If we actually rewound the tape and listened to it, he was not that great.
Right.
But, I mean, his book of work the last couple of years has been decent. Steve Clark, who's an absolute freak and playing out of his mind, but it's a contract year for him.
Yeah.
And he's fighting for a spot. Let's say we offer him the starting spot.
Does he
and
continue
pay the
to play
contract.
that way?
Does he continue to play out of his mind, right?
I don't know.
Does he lose that edge because he knows he can lose it at any point?
Right.
And we've talked about this with like Kawarsi, and we talked about this with some of the other Gleason and some of those guys. Is as soon as they don't feel threatened and they don't feel like somebody can take their seat,
their play falls off.
Yeah, they lose that edge.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like, because Clark, man, he is unhinged.
Crazy.
Playing out of his mind, making some crazy saves. But the second he starts to feel comfortable, are we going to see something different? I don't know.
I hope not.
So you got Clark, and then you've got this guy that we forgot about from Slovenia, this 25-year-old kid, Aljaz Ivovic.
Supposed to be just phenomenal keeper, too.
Had an ACL tear when he got here. We got some money back on it.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be amazing, right? So 6'2", 180 pounds, basically the same size as Steve Clark.
Don't think we've seen a minute of him, though.
I haven't seen a minute of him, yeah. And he's taking an international slot.
Right.
And then you got the human freak, Kendall McIntosh, playing behind all those guys. So, Mr. I can save penalties left and right.
Yeah.
And who we've not seen in a T1 uniform.
Correct.
So...
Well, we have seen him like twice, I think, in a T1 uniform.
But not on a start.
But not as a starter.
Right.
No, he was as a backup goalie.
Right. So, I don't necessarily know if I'd make a change there. But you know you got to do something with Clark as far as wrapping him up.
Right.
Right? And then do you go protect him? Who do you protect from the keepers? Because you got the expansion draft coming up. Do you protect Clark? Do you protect Aunt Nella? Aunt Nella hasn't played in a year. So
I think, if I were the king for the day, that's the guy I'm letting go.
Aunt Nella?
Yeah.
Yeah, me
Just
too.
because he doesn't have the play time right now that Clark does or McIntosh does for T2. And then you've spent a bunch of money to bring this other guy in, this Slovenia guy that we just haven't seen.
Right.
But that's who I would keep.
Yep, I agree. So, well, then we go up to, let's go up the line above, the defense, which for most of the season has been an absolute gong show.
Yeah, it's usually either injuries or just non-communication.
It's been a clown car, man. People popping in and out, left and right.
It's been crazy.
So, one thing I appreciated about Porter, there's two things I appreciated that we'll talk about, but the first thing is he recognized the spine of the team really makes it go, right? So you've got to have your best players in the spine of the team, and so that's the center positions. And everything else can be complementary, and he liked a lot of speed on the wings that could get up fast and get back fast, that type of thing. And it translated into results and all that, and it wasn't necessarily always the prettiest. We got frustrated with balls crossing, but to be honest, we're kind of frustrated with how Gio's balls, kind of sounded weird, but how Gio's play is too.
How Gio's balls crossed.
Yeah, well, yeah. Gio needs to do something better with his balls. So.
Uncross your balls, Gio.
So we look at the centers there. You got Claude Dielna, the French dude from New England. Larry's Mabiala, you got Bill Tulama, and you've got Amadou Jadama, and that's it. So sitting in the center.
Right.
You need two or three of those guys.
Yep.
Right? And then
Yep.
who do you have sitting on T2 that can jump up, that needs or deserves a spot? I don't know. But I don't think we saw Modu at all this year. I mean, maybe he was on the bench, but I didn't see him play at all. Even when Larry's was gone, you saw Zarek in the middle, or Cascante, he's the other guy.
Yep.
So what do you do? What do you do with Cascante? What do you do with Jadama, Larry's, Claude Dielna? My gut tells me to let Dielna go. Not very popular in the Timbers fan base. Seems to gaff a lot.
And he didn't see a lot of playing time for us.
Right, well, he would play, and then he would make stupid mistakes.
Yeah. Casacante did the same thing.
Yeah, Mr. I score my own goals. I mean, he led the team in goals this year. Own goals.
Own goals. I think if we're looking at center back alone, not outside back or
just
anything
center
else,
back.
just center back alone, I say you've got to go with Mabiala.
Yep.
And
flush the rest.
No, I wouldn't say that, actually. You and I really disagree on this guy, but who's our other center right now? Tulioma. I like the way the guy plays. He's usually pretty solid. He has an occasional gaffe, but every single one of our guys has had the occasional gaffe. And that's what's cost us defensively is we've just got too many guys that have those off games. I think he matures into that spot a lot more, especially if you keep him paired up with Mabiala and let those two make a good solid gel at center back.
Yeah, the deal is Mabiala's 32, right? So next year he's 33.
Yeah, he's another guy that's aging.
He's aging. He's going to have to get replaced. You keep Mabiala for this year. I wouldn't send him for a long-term contract or do anything with his contract. Not sure what his status is, but that being said, I think I keep him pat, protect him. I think you keep Tulima. I agree. I'm not a huge fan of him. I think he's a B guy, maybe a C guy, but I think you have to go out and find another A guy to complement Mabiala.
Yeah.
And then you flush
the rest of it.
The rest of them.
Yep.
Yeah. Dielna, I think Cascante needs to go somewhere. Cascante is a liability, man. He's been a good utility, like filling in here, but he's cost way too much from a gaff here and a gaff there.
Well, and the mistakes he makes are critical mistakes.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
have that.
Back away from the goal, clearing balls into the net. It's just ridiculous. So you take care of the spine, go out and find, somebody Ridgewell-esque. And what do you think of our wings? So we sit there with Jorge Villafana, Zarek Valentin, Jorge Maria, and Marco Farfan.
I think you keep Moria.
Yeah, Moria is a no-brainer.
I mean, that's a no-brainer. You got to keep that guy.
And we haven't talked about this because I am a huge Maria fan. There's a lot of people who are like, Maria sucks. He's terrible. He's silent, he's quiet, but he's a freaking assassin, dude.
Well, not only that, he does play more defense than people give him credit for.
He's a dirty work guy.
He's doing a lot of crap in that midfield that people just don't pay attention to.
Yep.
Yeah, he doesn't get back all the time, but the whole reason they brought him in was to have a guy that could go up that wing side and stay high, so that somebody else, the opposing winger or one of the center backs, would fill over and cover that spot.
Yep.
And once the team got that figured out, you saw what he could pull off. I mean, he was pulling off some amazing stuff. And like you said, he's doing a lot of the dirty work. He does, I would say, similar to work on those wings that Char does up the middle.
Absolutely he does. And
people just don't give him credit for that. He's all over the place.
And he's a first-year guy, right?
Right.
He came to the team early in the season, not even a full year did he play with the team, and he clicked right off the bat, where a lot of these guys
take forever.
It takes a year for him to get in. And even Blanco, it took a year before we really saw what Blanco was.
Right.
So, yeah, Maria, I think, is going to be a stallion next year. And I love how physical he is. Man,
yes.
he's got wheels. So he's 29 though, so he's getting ready to turn the corner here. And those guys put on a lot more miles than the center backs.
Exactly.
So when his wheels go, they'll go pretty fast.
They're going to go quick.
Yeah.
As we saw with Diego Valeri.
Right, and we're coming up on mid. So
I mean, you went from MVP to maybe 45-minute guy the next year.
What do you do with Villafana?
I just don't see the talent that we had with him when we had him before he left.
Yeah.
I just don't see it.
Nice guy.
I don't know what happened.
I just think he's miscasted on the team. I think he got comfortable. I mean, they give him the big contract, and it's that same thing. How much edge is there? How much push or fight is there behind him? And he's 29. Or no, he's 30.
He's 30? Nah.
Yeah, how much does he have left in the tank? He's had a good season, good career, but he's a good B to me. I think he would be a good backup, but he makes too much money for that. So
exactly.
Zarek, what do you do with Zarek?
You know what? That one's a tough one because Zarek's a good utility player. He can fill in a lot of spots when you've got injuries.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think he's getting to that point too, where do you keep him or do you let him go?
So 28 years old and a Portland Timbers Army favorite. But to me, yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. He's had some bad gaffes too. I mean, he
has. I
mean, some bad shit where the game we lost because of him, and when a defender does that,
it's bad.
Yeah,
it's really bad. But the guy, to his credit, I mean, he's a pretty good utility player. You can put him almost anywhere you want to.
Yeah, and he's a voice,
and he can fill in.
He's a voice in the locker room, and I think that's the other piece of it. But I'm hoping that they don't pay him like a whole bunch of extra money for being a voice, because if they do, then bye-bye. So Marco Farfan.
Bye-bye. Farfan, I think I just haven't seen him improve the way we've needed to. Now, I don't know if that's because he hasn't been getting playing time or what the deal is, but if that's the case, drop him back down to T2.
Yeah, 20 years old.
Get him some more play time there.
Put him in T2, see what he can run there. But he's not getting a lot of national team buzz anymore, and he's not getting a lot of Timbers buzz anymore. It's
No,
like
he's really not.
Gio's not that impressed.
It's like he fell off the radar.
So, yeah. Maybe Columbus wants him. He can go rejoin Caleb or something. So send him off over there. So then we go to the midfield. And the midfield's interesting because this is where there's some guys in here that have been with the Timbers for a long time.
Long time.
And so we start in the spine. Again, loved Caleb when he focused on the spine because it's hard to break down a team when the spine is strong.
Right.
So and we have a strong spine in the midfield, but it's an aging spine.
It is.
And you know what happened when the spine degenerates?
It usually collapses.
Gets arthritis,
Stiffens up.
and it's slow to respond.
Can't function as well as it used to.
Yeah, and that's what we've got, I think. So we've got in the middle Diego Chara, sitting at 33 years old.
And luckily, we have not seen a decrease in his performance yet.
I'm going to make a prediction, kids. Right here, prediction. Chara's going to break down next year.
You think?
Yeah.
In 2020?
2020 is the year.
No way.
Yeah, we see him slow down.
I don't see it happening.
I know. You're just like the rest of the Timbers Army.
No.
You and that Antifa.
I'm nothing like the rest of the Timbers Army.
So
I have my own opinion.
So yeah, no, I mean, I think we see it next year. I got nothing to base that on.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it happens, but I don't think it happens next year.
So Char's still playing great. Good All-Star year. He actually, arguably, should have been an All-Star the last 5 years.
He should have been, but
got recognized this year. So we'll see how much mileage he has on the 33. So he puts a lot of mileage and rough mileage on. So
he really does, and it's aggressive, hard mileage.
Yeah.
It's not just running around the field kind of crap. He's actually putting in the hard tackles. He's doing everything else.
Totally. So and then his same age, Diego Valeri, sitting in the middle, more of an offensive player, not defensive.
Right. And we've already seen that decline.
Absolutely has lost a step. So, and I don't know what that is. He certainly, most of his goals came off of penalties or set pieces.
Yep.
Certainly had a bunch of assists. I mean, his assist rate was huge. But he's not creating his own shots. And so part of that is you bring in Brian Fernandez and Ebo moves central into a center, up into a center striker type position. That takes stuff away from Valeri, where before Valeri was in that role.
Right.
But that being said, he's not a shot creator anymore where he can do that. He also turns over a lot of balls in the middle that we haven't seen before.
He does.
So, what do you do with Diego Valeri? He's in a big contract year. There's a big fight between him and the Timbers.
You know, if it were me, I would either trade him away, as much as people are going to hate me for saying that, but we're running a business. We're not running a fashion show or a sorority or anything else. The Timbers are there to make money, and they're should be being built to win championships. And when you get aging players, even though they're huge fan favorites, when they fall off like Diego has, there's got to be a time when you just have to cut the ties and say, you did a lot for us. That's great. We got a spot for you in the back office if you want to retire, but we're not going to renew an option to extend a contract.
A la Steven Gerrard with Liverpool, a la Drogba with Chelsea, a la Peter Cech with Chelsea. Eventually, you can't use nostalgia as a way to run a soccer team. Eventually, you have to say goodbye because there's younger players, better players, not more important players that from a historical perspective, but just better players at that time.
Just better at the time, right. Correct.
And nobody's saying that Valeri isn't the most important Timber that we've ever had, or that his contributions off the field haven't been absolutely amazing. But what we're saying is, at this point in time with his play, he's no longer a DP. He's no longer should be paid what a DP should be paid. We need to go find somebody else that has that value and can contribute at that level to the team.
Correct.
So, what about Polo?
Marco Polo.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I just don't see keeping the guy.
No. He's got an attitude. There's something going on between him and the coach.
When we originally saw Polo in Arizona, it looked great.
Yeah.
Super fast, super aggressive player. None of that showed up this year.
Yep.
His speed's still there, but the rest of it, I just have not seen enough from him to really want to keep him around.
Well, he had an injury at one point, and then some battles with the coaches. The World Cup was in there. I mean, there's some stuff in there, but that being said, meh, get out of here. So Sebastian Blanco, I think you're fine.
You got to keep that.
Yeah, he's 31. Still got a couple of years. People love him. Thomas Konechny, he's 21. I don't think we've really seen much from him because he's been behind on sitting on the shelf a little bit.
Correct.
So then you got the two young guys, Loria and Zambrano. Both really young, 20s, and I think you keep the young guys. I don't think they're making a ton of money, but again, they're good utility players that can kind of fill a particular void.
Right.
So,
yeah, and they can be developed into other things at some point.
Yeah, right. And I what do you do with Dyron Espria, Mr. October?
I think you got to trade him. As much as that hurts to say that. The only time that guy shows up is in the playoffs.
Yeah, really, we're talking drama, right? So Polo's creating some drama on the team. Espria's creating drama. And I think anybody that creates drama that's taking away from what the central point of this team is, you got to jettison. And that includes Diego Valeri holding his shirt up to Merritt Paulson in the suites after he scored a goal to make a point to him about, again, a contract is what the belief is.
Right.
Or going up to the Timbers Army and getting them all lathered up to say goodbye, I'll never see you again, or whatever. And just some of that shit, it's drama, and the team doesn't need that. Go play fucking soccer. So, all right. Forwards.
Yes. What forwards?
Jeremy, Ebo, Bisay. What do we do with Jeremy? We probably disagree on this.
I don't say you keep him. I say you look for something better.
Well, we agree.
Yeah.
Cue the toilet sound. Brian Fernandez.
Depends on what happens. The guy's shown he can score in the MLS. He's shown he can score a lot. I think you keep him at least for a little bit, especially with as much money as you paid. And see what happens. But if it doesn't turn out well, you get rid of him quick.
Yeah, I think you got to hang on to him. I don't know. I don't know how well a mentor, assigning him somebody that's with him all the time, whether it be a player, which is asking a lot, right? Or his agent somehow is closer. But there's got to be something and some sort of agreement that says, dude, we're invested in you. And if there's not something like that, then I say you got to cut.
Right.
You got to cut bait. And I'm sure there's contingencies within the contract that he signed that allows you to do that, at least to get partial value back. But I'm all for him if he can make that turn and come back and we can give him somebody to support him. But if we can't, dude, he's a head case. I mean, just the fact that I got to pay somebody else to be with you so you stay clean and stay emotionally sound.
Not good.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. Zlatan doesn't need that, and Zlatan's scoring goals left and right. I mean, some of these, and everybody's got their baggage, and everybody's got their own thing. I get it. But when you're talking money and running business, dude, it's what you're doing now, not what you did. So, those are really all I got up top. You got this Foster Langsdorff kid, homegrown. We haven't really seen him much.
In T2, he did phenomenal, though.
Yeah,
so,
and he's not getting a ton of time, but he's stuck behind Jeremy. But yeah, I think, I don't know. Jeremy scored a bunch of goals this year, a lot of header goals, but he's not a guy that can really create. The Timbers Army loves this guy. They get lathered up on this guy, too.
Yeah, they love him because he has the same political views.
So, but yeah, well.
And to his point, if he's not playing dead center, if they actually move him to the outside as a striker,
right,
he does much better.
Yeah,
in
totally.
that position, without a doubt.
Well, so there's the team. So based upon that, we noticed that we have some center backs that we need to look at some replacements in the midfield, but really need to focus on the strikers up top to figure out what we're going to do there. And if we flush Jeremy and we're unsure about Brian, sounds like we need some striker talent. So
sounds like the same year every year.
And then let's talk, what do you do with Coach Gio? So how would you rate? 0 is I'm flushing you. 10 is he's the best coach ever. Where would you put this year and what you think of Gio this year?
I'd put him at a 7.
Wow. Really?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think what a lot of people are you saying 7's too high or 7's too low?
I'll explain mine in a second.
But the reason I'm giving it a 7 is he took a really difficult schedule that got heaped upon him because of the expansion of our stadium here. And he actually did something with it. It didn't start off well by any stretch of the imagination, but then they became a really good road team. Then they came home, they won some games, they lost a bunch of games, so yada, yada, yada. But the thing to look at is a lot of those home games were super tight scheduled games. It's hard to have a squad that can rotate on that short a notice. And I mean, I think he did the best he could. Were there some questionable times when subbing and questionable times on his rotations? Absolutely. But I think he did pretty damn good for what he was thrown at with a schedule.
So I think 7's generous. That's just me. I'm not a huge fan of the coaches that go, well, I think we did pretty good today. I think we were close and we were the better team, even though we got dominated. And
that was Porter, too.
Yeah, it was Porter, and I gave Porter the same crap. But, but dude, you squeaked into the playoffs. You arguably had one of the worst, and the schedule was tough. I get it. And it was a lot of back-to-back games and a lot of, 4 games in 10 days bullshit. But you kind of just have to play the hand you're dealt. And he had some injuries, and he had some new players brought in, and they're a year off of going to the final and some of that stuff. So I think next year's that year that he's got to put up or shut up.
Oh, yeah. Next year is definitely his defining year.
And he's got to stop the goddamn rhetoric of, well, I think we were the better team.
Yeah, that's crap.
Yeah. So because he did, if you remember early on, he threw all the players under the bus in one of the interviews. I think it was against the Red Bulls early on. He was like, no, the players absolutely sucked. We were terrible.
Yeah.
We're fucking terrible, I believe is what he said.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and I think that's good. But
hold your players accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. I'd go 5 or 6, and I think I'm being generous if I go 6. But I need to see some improvement, baby. I need to see you actually do something with this team and coach them up. And I think his voice is growing tired in the locker room, just looking at how the guys were rallying or not rallying when they came out on the field.
Yeah.
He had to basically yell at them at halftime to get them fired up for Salt Lake. It's like, dude, come on, man. They should be fired up going in.
Well, they should be, but I think they're just exhausted.
Could be. They had 2 weeks off prior, so.
Yeah.
But, all right, well, enough about the Timbers. What are you drinking, dude?
Nothing.
What were you drinking? What's that beer you brought that's brown?
I was drinking a Backwoods Brewing Company pecan pie porter.
Ooh, what's the ABV on that bad boy?
Figures you'd ask me a question I need glasses for.
5.9%.
Is that what it is?
5. Yeah, 5.9.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
5.9.
What do you think of it?
I actually liked it. It wasn't over-the-top pecan pie tasting, which was nice. I just kind of had a hint of it. And then just a nice porter taste to it.
Malty.
The backside was perfect.
With a slight hint of nuts on my tongue.
Wow.
And it's brown.
Wow.
No, that's really what it was, dude.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
So, all right.
It's your story. You get to tell it.
Let's pause. We'll come back with a fresh new beer and some talk about beer. All right, we're back.
Wow.
Part 2.
Bing!
Well, listener Matt gave us a beer that we're well into now.
Imagine that.
So, listener Matt gave us a Jackalope Imperial Pumpkin Porter from Beer Valley, Ontario, Oregon. It's 7.9%. And
pretty tasty.
it is pretty tasty. You
Pretty
said you had this
tasty.
over at Andrew and Tiffany's?
Yeah, they had it at their game night the same week you guys were down in California doing wine tasting. So they had that and a few other Halloween-themed beers, but this one is the one that stuck out to me.
Wow. Well, it's pretty nice. A little bit of hint of some spices, but they're pretty subdued behind the taste of squash.
Squash in your mouth.
Yeah. I've had nuts on my tongue and
Behind
squash in my
the
mouth.
mix.
Kind of ties nicely.
Wow.
As long as not a cucumber in my tongue. No?
Cucumber with nuts?
Well, wouldn't be the first.
Oh, God.
That might be a beer that we have to do. Cucumber with nuts.
Cucumbers and nuts.
Yeah. Salted.
They call it the old salty.
It'd be nice. It'd be a cream ale.
No.
So, well, thank you, listener Matt. So, good beer. Again,
I think you'd have to go with a Gose with that one.
you would have to go with the Gose. You can do cream ale style Gose.
Wow. Salty yet creamy.
Yummy. So, yeah, good pumpkin beer here. So, again, listeners out there, if you want to hit us up with beers, we're willing to try them as long as they don't have pickles in them. But outside of that, Gary will try the pickle beers, not me.
Pickle beers are actually pretty good.
They make me puke.
Don't mind them.
That and a chelada.
Yeah, the chiladas are, I think I'm done tasting those on air.
We've tried a lot of beers on the air that people have given us, and I think we still have one in the fridge, actually. And there's some that
you just won't even touch, like the
No.
chiladas. You won't even touch those.
Well, I did the one on the air, and I dry heaved the whole time.
Yeah, you'll never touch one of those again.
Yikes. Well, so as we referenced, I went down to Southern California, 23rd wedding anniversary.
Woo!
Crash. Just the fact that somebody stuck with me for 23 years, fantastic. So I'm truly grateful. Hit Temecula and hit the wine region. Really underimpressed with that area and wine, but we're blessed in a place that grows great wine grapes and makes wonderful wine, and the scenery is even better.
Yeah.
I have no idea why people like to live in LA. It's dusty, crowded, nasty, on fire. So
Yeah.
but whatever floats your boat. People don't like rain when they come here.
Nope.
I'll keep the rain. You can have that. But I stopped into a place called Old Temecula, and actually our buddy Rich pointed me down towards Old Temecula. We met him down there. Tried some great beers, which I posted on Untapped. But the one place that Debbie and I stopped in on our own was down an alley, and it was fantastic. They were kind of known for their dark beers, and go figure in Southern California, you're thinking light lagers.
Yeah, you're not thinking dark beer.
No, you're really not. And there was really about 3 or 4 breweries down there that were nuts about dark beers. I mean, they were all about it.
Huh.
And so I got to looking, and I'm like, well, okay, Debbie likes milk chocolate stouts, and I like porters and stouts. And so there was this one brewery that was pretty cool. And as I'm scrambling here, Iron Fire Brewing down in Old Temecula, we stopped by and tried a sampler of their beers. So underimpressed with the wait staff that was inside. Really was busy watching football and could care less that I was in there.
Yeah.
Until I dropped my Tim Beers podcast card off and as we were leaving. But I tried their barrel-aged stuff. So they had a 2019 all oak everything barrel-aged on chilies.
Ooh.
That was by far their best, I thought. It was 4.5%. I mean, 4.5 rating is what I gave it.
Yeah.
Last Right's triple chocolate stout, which was buck crazy. I gave it 4.25. 6 Killer Stout, which is kind of what they're known for. I gave it 3.75. And then I had an Eisenhaus, which was another dark beer of theirs, and actually that's their Oktoberfest beer that they had.
Yeah.
And that was actually pretty decent, but it was a 3.5. So, and then I tried something from Wien's Brewing, and Wien's actually owns a winery in Temecula, and they had a Imperial Stout that was crazy thick, very abyss-like, named Damus, and I gave it a 4. And Rich actually got a glass of that too, and he's like, holy crap, they don't make beer like that down here that often. So, but pretty cool stuff. On our way home, we were heading out of John Wayne, Orange County Airport from Temecula, good distance, and we got to the airport quite early, a couple hours, and Debbie's like, let's grab lunch. We should go to a pub. So she pulled up a list of pubs, and we stopped in at Barley Forge Brewing in Orange County and sat and had a grilled cheese. They've got this thing, I believe, on Tuesdays, if I'm not mistaken, that if you buy something off the bar menu, you get a free beer.
Huh?
Yeah, I was like, dude. So I'm sitting there, drop the card, and I'm talking to the customer service guy. I'm like, hey, is your brewer around? And you could see the brewer in the back running back and forth, cleaning out kegs. Typical brewer guy, big beard. Looks like he should be from Portland. And he's like, yeah, no, that'd be awesome. And then we sat there for an hour and made eye contact with the guy, but it was obvious he didn't want to talk to us.
Yeah.
He was busy doing stuff.
Busy.
He's also a brewer, so he's like, God dang it, just leave me alone, let me brew.
Just let me brew beer. That's all I want to do, brew beer.
But eventually, I outlasted him and wrestled him to the ground and met Billy. And had an interview with Billy from Barley Forge Brewing. So what's cool about this brewing, though, is that they've only been around for 5 years, and they've won a Gabbeth Gold, and they've won a beer medal from the World Championships.
Wow.
And then a bunch of local stuff. And they've only been around for 5 years.
It's pretty impressive.
So let's take a listen to the interview with Billy, and we'll go from there, and we'll come back. All right, it's Jason from the Timbers here. I'm at Barley Forge in Costa Mesa. We're winding up our wine tour on our way back from Temecula into the airport here, and we're like, hey, we should stop at a brewery here. And so we stopped here at Barley Forge, tried a sampler, kind of dropped in unexpected. Billy here is the brewer of Barley Forge, and so wanted to sit and ask you a few questions about the brew scene here in California, and specifically talk about Barley Forge. I see, again, a gold medal sitting up on the wall for a beer that you had from 2018 Gabbeth, and then a World Beer Championship. So tell us about your brewery, where you're located, at least for now, and a little bit about what you guys are known for from a beer perspective.
Yeah, so we're located in Costa Mesa, California. We're just a couple miles from the Orange County Santa Ana Airport. We've been here for about 5 years. We were the first production brewery in Costa Mesa. We got a 15-barrel brew house, pretty decent size, fermenter capacity. Some of our, like you said, we won GABF for our Dortmund lager. It's Grandpa Tractor. We won that last year. And then at the last World Beer Cup, we won silver for Patsy, which is our coconut rye stout. And that's our best-selling beer, kind of what we're known for.
Yeah, so I had the Patsy. It's on nitro right now.
Yeah.
Very, very, crazy beer. So lots of coconut. I mean, pretty complex for what it is. How does that go over in the Southern California climate, brewing stouts? I'm a big stout guy, being from Portland. We like this, especially as it starts to get darker and colder. I like the stouts. How does that go over here?
Like I said, that's our best-selling beer by far, especially the nitro version. It's kind of crazy that our main selling beer is a stout here, IPA heavy kind of part of the country and whatnot. So yeah, it's super cool seeing that style of beer, because I love dark beer myself, but yeah, you just don't see a lot of best selling beers be your stout, and that one just has resonated with people and they really like it.
Are you doing any barrels of it or anything like that?
Not since I've been here. I think before I worked here, they did a cognac barrel or a bourbon barrel version. But yeah, not since I've been here have we done it barrel aged.
Wow, crazy. So beer market in California. So things are changing. It sounds like much like Oregon. There's some contracture. There's competition for space. We were looking at the pins on the map as we were driving in. We're like, all right, which one are we going to try out? I'm like, I want to try out this one. But you guys are closing. So what's going on?
Yeah, it's tough, the market. We're doing a lot of distribution and just the competition even locally. Like, there's 40 or plus breweries in Orange County now, and when we opened, we were the only one on this street, and now there's 4 of us and about another one a mile from here. So, a lot of factors go into it, but yeah, unfortunately, we're going to be closing down operations pretty soon.
Wow. So, and then what's that for brewers like you? You're going to go to another production brewery? I mean, what do you do from there? So, I mean, obviously your life's put into this place. What does the brew scene look like for brewers that are looking for something to do?
There's interest in this space. So, there's been some talks of someone possibly taking it over, but, nothing official yet. And I'm hoping I can at least, re-interview for that. But yeah, there's openings. Like, we have a lot of breweries around here. It's just like might not be jumping into something right away again.
Right. Yeah. So did you go to GABF when you guys got the gold medal? Did you get to go to GABF and get the medal?
No, actually, we weren't there. We've had this weird. The times we've won, nobody's been there, so it seemed like it's been like a weird well, maybe if we don't go, we'll win more. So yeah, like that one we weren't at.
Huh. Okay. I've always wondered what it's like to stand on the stage and get the medal in front of the people and do all that type of stuff. It's got to be kind of surreal, especially with how many people are entering and how big that competition is. So, yeah. Cool. Well, I really, really appreciate your time. So if there's one brewery I've got to check out in the little region here, before I hit the airport, what do I hit?
Let's see, between here and the airport?
Well, somewhere in the region, right?
I mean, if you're into farmhousey type beers, our neighbor directly across the street, Gunwale, actually, they're doing some really great farmhouse saison type beers. Karl Strauss isn't too far from here. I mean, I know it's another restaurant, but I love Karl Strauss. I mean, they're one of the older craft breweries in California, but they're still making great beer. Yeah.
I try to shy away from that chainy type thing. I even told my wife, I'm like, we're not going to Karl Strauss. I'm out of the chain thing. Gunwale sounds interesting, though. I mean, they're blending, right? So they're not only just doing some of the funk and messing with some sours, but they're actually blending.
They have some mixed culture stuff over there. I don't know if they have it at the moment. I know they do periodic releases, but yeah, they're definitely more focusing on like the more rustic saison-y type stuff, which is cool because like not a lot of breweries around here are doing that. So it's cool to see them giving that a shot. And they actually are expanding themselves. Actually, they just opened a spot in Orange, which is not too far from here.
So that's crazy because Oregon's been all about the sours and all about that stuff for a little bit, and Cascade Barrel House. I mean, all of these guys are just booming sour-wise, but that's just kind of a new thing that's kind of starting here. How's that going over from a taste perspective? Because I know up there, it was like IPA, hazy, everything they could get was IPA, and all of a sudden we switched to sours, and that was a pretty radical change, and now everybody's got some sort of funk going on. Are people adjusting to that here? Are they ordering that? Because I see, 2 or 3 on your menu.
Yeah, we've done some kettle sours. We had one mixed firm beer last year that we did, and it went over pretty well. People liked it. But, I mean, it's like we definitely have some good sour beer here. Like, we have the Brewery Taru over in Anaheim. Beechwood Blendery up in Long Beach is just killing it. Like, their goose-style beer is phenomenal. And, it's... People dig it. People that aren't necessarily beer drinkers are really liking that stuff. It's kind of already shifted a little bit. Like, it used to be super acidic, and I know a lot of them are starting to dial that back just because it's like, it can get too far at some points. At least for me, Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Gose is that entryway. You got a little bit of salt, a little bit of sour, but it's a good entryway. But really, I think the sour beer thing's it's targeted at wine drinkers too. It's a good place for them to come into the beer world and hang out and have some beer, and it's not too different from the wine. I mean, it is, but it's gateway. So, cool. Well, I appreciate your time. Yeah. We'll have it probably in the next couple of weeks posted on the podcast. Cool. But you take care.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. Bye. All right. Thanks, Billy and Barley Forge Brewing, for hosting. Wonderful place. So it's too bad they're going to shut down. I know I pointed Tim to them when he was down in California the week after I was there.
Yeah.
So really enjoyed all of their beers they had there.
I mean, it boggles my mind that you can go from first year being the only guys in there to 5 years later shutting your door because the competition has just gotten outrageous.
Yeah, no, I mean
that's just huge expansion, and now we're starting to see the huge contraction.
Yeah, and it's going to happen, and it's a natural flow. So Grandpa's Tractor was good. I rated it 4.25. That's their gold medal Gabuff they got. I really, really enjoyed their Oktoberfest they had on, which was Dog Days. Debbie actually wanted a pint of that herself. Good Marzen type beer. Orangey golden in color. Clear all the way through, and very malty. I mean, it was really, really good. So they had the Hankerin, which was their brown ale, which was okay. And then the Patsy, which he talked about, which is their famous beer, they had it on nitro, so it was just smooth as all get out.
Yeah.
Cocoa, coconut, and then hints of rye in it. And it blended well. I mean, it was nice. And that's what they actually won the silver for at the Worlds.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, great brewery. It's sad to see him go. Kind of a weird spot for him, so I think that's probably some of it. There's a kind of a more trendy area where a lot of the breweries are opening up, including Gunwale, which is like a block and a half, 2 blocks away.
Right.
But these guys are kind of in the back alley of like a industrial park. It's not sexy. It's not cool. I think if they move and it's more hip, that's better. But they got a lot invested in the space where they're at as far as electricity and plumbing and all that. So, but yeah, interesting. Just shows you the business cycle of things. So.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yep. All right. Well, let's pour another beer here. I pulled something out of the little deal. This was actually listener bought us this one.
User error.
Yeah. So listener bought us this one. This is called Double Negative. It's Grim, I believe is the name of it. And it is from Brooklyn, New York by Grim Brewing. So
interesting.
It is an Imperial Stout.
Oh boy.
And it pours out like motor oil and maple syrup.
I bet it does.
It's only 10%, so I got you a big one. Don't you worry.
I'll bet you tell everybody that.
Yeah, especially as I'm pouring something thick and black.
Yeah. Interesting.
All right, so there you go. So no real notes on the side of this thing. But again, Brooklyn, New York, brewed by Grimm. Again, listener Sean bought us this. Not our Sean, but a different Sean.
Whew.
So, Double Negative. First thoughts. Oh, you just finished the pumpkin, didn't you?
Yeah.
Can't slam the gourd, dude.
No, I did that before. I was just setting the glass out of the way.
Oh.
You're saying this is an Imperial Stout?
This is an Imperial Stout.
It's awfully smooth for an Imperial Stout, is my first impression.
Yeah, it's only 10%, but yeah, only 10%.
Only 10%.
Yeah, it's very smooth.
It's actually very smooth for an Imperial Stout.
It's actually kind of light and more watery than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's not super heavy like you would anticipate with a lot of the Imperial Stouts. There's not a lot of the... it's really hard to describe it if you haven't drank an Imperial Stout. It leaves a heavy, almost sticky feeling in your mouth a lot of times. And this one doesn't do that, which I'm really surprised by.
Yeah, not at all. A little bit of peat. I'm tasting some peat. Do you taste that? A little bit of smoked peat or something going on there.
On the back or right in the middle?
Kind of in the middle.
Yeah, it's I'm picking up that, but I don't know if that's from that or if it's from just the malts.
It could be. I don't know. I'm just getting a little smoky peaty out of it. So, other than that, it's a typical kind of a chocolate coffee type base type thing to it. A little bit more liquidy than I would think. So it's not too thick, but it's a little bit more watery. How about that? So, but it's good. I would drink it. And
it's funny because you can. It's smooth, yet you can taste that potency on the back end of it.
Yeah, it's got an alcohol bite on the back. Not like a rubbing alcohol, but like a little bit of a bite. So, well, cool. While we're sipping that down,
slow sipping.
I'm gonna slam it because I'm looking forward to the next 10%.
Yeah. You won't wake up tomorrow. You'll be calling in sick.
So, Tim, our little buddy, just texted me. And he's like, "Hey,
The mascot?
yeah, you want to come on? You want me to come on the air?" And I'm like, "Dude, it's too late." So we're well into the podcast.
It's too late.
We're lubed up, and you're not. So
You never know. He's not working, so he could be just as lubed.
yeah, I think he was working on his license or something. I mean, he was doing some sort of class tonight, so I don't think he's lubed. So, but Timmy, our mascot, stopped, as we talked about, over at McMenamin's, and with a little bit of persuasion,
Got a fantastic interview.
got a
from
great
what I heard.
interview.
Yeah.
So let's give him a listen, and then we'll come back and regroup, talk a little bit about Black Widow, and even sample a little bit of Black Widow, and close out with some homebrew talk, and then that'll be it.
What? No skiing?
Oh yeah, we got skiing too. Here's Tim.
Hey, this is Tim, the unofficial mascot of PDX Tim Beers. I'm at Thompson's Brewery on a beautiful Friday evening, enjoying the Black Widow, and I happened to stumble across Jen. Jen, say hi, introduce yourself.
Hello. I am Jen Kent. I've been the brewer here at McMenamin's Thompson's Brewery for the past 14 years.
Excellent. Well, Jen, nice job on the beer. I've had about half a pint so far.
Good.
And as always, it's excellent. How many batches, barrels did you get to brew this year?
I made 12 kegs for this year. Might have to brew it up again because it's selling very quickly. But it's also company wide, so it's available everywhere to boot. On top of that, along as being in cans. And there's probably some stashes that are hiding in some barrels as well. It's a pretty common beer that we like to put into some of our whiskey barrels for aging.
All right, gentlemen, you heard that here first. That's going to be in a barrel. So, yep, got to keep an eye out for that. So, Jen, do you do all the brewing for McMenamin's for this beer here, or do they also brew at every other site using your recipe?
It's every brewery in our company brews Black Widow, and it's not necessarily my recipe. It's I think the recipe is about 24 years old, if I'm correct on the age timeline of the Black Widow. It was created by one of our early brewers here at Thompson's, and back in the day, Thompson's itself would just brew the Black Widow for the pub. And one year I sent out an email with the recipe just saying like, hey, it's a fun recipe to have on tap during October. If I remember correctly, I think some beer bloggers got a hold of it and became a bit of a hit up in Portland with the recipes that were brewed up there. And then we decided to turn it into a company-wide seasonal.
Excellent. That's a great piece of history. Of all the beers that you get to brew in your 16 years? 14 years. Is this your favorite, or what is your favorite beer that you get to brew?
It's one of my favorites to brew. It's a fun seasonal that we do. I think it kind of depends on what time of year it is, on what I like to brew. It's always fun to learn new aspects of brewing. I've been enjoying stepping into the kettle sour world. I've been doing that a little bit. I enjoy hazies a lot just because it's a fun challenge. And I just like brewing beer in general, so it's kind of hard to pick my favorite, that's for sure.
Excellent. To steal a line from Gary, for all those kids out there that don't know, Jen, could you explain just briefly what is a kettle sour?
Oh, don't quote me too much on this because I'm just stepping into the world of learning about them. It's a brewing process to make a sour beer, and it's a 2-day brewing process where we start with making a wort. We add some yogurt for cultures, let it sit overnight for about 24 hours. To get its pH balanced correctly. Then we boil that beer up and send it off into the fermentation tank where those cultures are active and making those nice sour notes on top of a beer. Kind of depends on what fruit flavor you want to play with. The next one I'm working on will be a margarita-inspired kettle sour.
Excellent. Well, gentlemen, I hate to say it, but we appear to be having a communication breakdown here as my burger just arrived at the table, and I love you guys and all. And Jen, thank you very much for the interview. Thank you for making yet another great beer. That's it for Tim and the PDX Tim Beers. Thank you very much.
Good. That's perfect.
Oh, Tim.
Our reporter from the field, Tim.
As Gary would say, kids, that was Tim. I think well done.
Wow.
He's getting better with his interviews.
He is getting better. He keeps them really short, though.
Yeah, well, he had a communication breakdown.
Well, of course he did. He had to feed his face.
That was the name of his burger.
Yeah, I know.
And so
Yeah, the
that's
Communication Breakdown Burger.
yeah. So Tim, hopefully that burger treated you well. Well done on the interview. A huge thanks to Jen Kent for year 2 being on the podcast. Love your beer. Love what you do for McMenamin. And love your history, 14-year history, not 16, Tim. But nice work. Thanks. Well, so how's that beer treating you still? Still got the same in there.
Well, yeah, it's a pretty, it's an imperial. I mean, once you tip the scales at 10%, you got to slow down a bit.
It's not 14, it's 10.
It's not like it's a 5% beer that you can just slam after a soccer game.
No, you can do it.
No, you can't. Shouldn't.
Well, you shouldn't.
All you got to do is stumble down your hallway to your bed.
That's different than from you can't.
I got to drive home.
No, I've seen what you've done before. You've walked, and it's a nice evening.
I have.
Yeah.
It is a pleasant evening.
And then you can come back and get your car tomorrow.
and then I get my car the next day.
And then
but it's never early. Never.
Then you can get your walk in.
Hey, that's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah, so the idea is you get trashed at my house, walk home.
Forces me to walk twice within
right.
a 24-hour period.
You don't feel so good on the walk back over, though.
No, usually not. No.
Yeah.
No, that usually doesn't pan out well.
Well, so 2 nice interviews. We're sitting an hour and 2 minutes.
Whoa.
I know this is our longest one in a little while.
It's crazy.
So let's talk a little bit about home brewing.
Yeah.
So what do you got going, or what do you have planned? Are you going to brew anything?
I got nothing going, but I just got everything all sparkly and clean again.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about doing a Christmas beer.
I think you need to get on it.
Yeah, I kind of do, if it's going to be ready by Christmas.
Yep. You're obviously not going to lager it, so.
No, and that's the challenge, is I'm looking for a good recipe out of the clone book. The big challenge I'm running into right now is the grain bills.
Yeah.
The grain bills on a lot of these Christmas beers are more than my fermenter and initial brewing setup can handle.
Really?
Yeah. My max grain bill on it's 12 pounds. And a lot of these recipes call for 14, 16. Heck, there's even one in there. Now, granted, this is a really super high gravity beer, but it's calling for probably close to 25 pounds of grain.
Oh, Jesus.
So I'm just like, meh. So I'm going to have to play with the recipes a little bit to get them to fit my brewing system. And I'm planning on doing that sometime tomorrow so that I get it done and can get the ingredients bought. The other thing I'm looking at is the ingredients list. Some of that stuff I've never even seen at a lot of the brew stores that we have available here.
Like what?
I'd have to show you in the book.
Okay.
Right off the top of my head, I don't know. But just like some of the hop varieties I haven't seen, and even some of the grains. Some of the malts. I'm just like, never heard of it, never seen it. So they could be really hard to come up with.
Yeah, I don't even know where my clone book is. It might be out in the homebrew stuff, because I haven't seen it for a little bit. I need to go looking for that.
But yeah, that's what I'm planning on doing. You're planning on brewing on Sunday, though, correct?
Yeah, I'm going to brew Sunday. I'm going tomorrow evening to grab homebrew supplies. Above the Rest just changed their hours. They're now open until 6:30. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I believe Sunday.
And I've heard they've revamped their website.
Website looks a hell of a lot better. The shopping, I'm still kind of getting used to. Don't really know if I like it or not, but it's at least more like current.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so we'll see. We hope those guys, again, we wish them all the success and hope they stick around for a little longer, so hopefully shifting this business model is good. But I'll be over there tomorrow, so we'll see. I'm sure Sharon will tell me all about it. So
cool.
I'm going to brew the Abyss clone that I entered in the state fair, and kind of go from there. So it's got a pretty hefty grain bill. I mean,
yes,
we're talking,
it does. Yeah.
15, 16, 17, 18, 19 pounds of grain.
That's a lot of grain.
So
Especially for that's a 5-gallon batch
Yeah.
that's using 19 pounds of grain.
Yeah, so everything from white wheat malt to roasted barley to 120L crystal caramel, 60L crystal caramel, victory malt, black barley stout, a bunch of two-row, vanilla beans, bourbon oak spirals, which I don't use. I use Jack Daniel's oak barrel chips. Yeah, licorice sticks, wild cherry bark, which is always entertaining. And some molasses. So, yeah, it's a pretty hefty beer, but it turned out well. And I got a couple tweaks I'm going to do this year to it, taking some of the guidance that they offered me from the state fair.
Yeah.
And we'll see what we can do. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Now, there's
so-
a couple other guys brewing that day, too, aren't there?
Well, so Will's brewing next door. I don't know if he'll have his stuff together to be able to pull, but yeah, he wants to do a Christmas beer as well.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's doing the same thing. So you guys should compare notes. He's actually talking about doing a Burr clone, which is, I believe,
Oh, yeah.
Widmer's
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Burr.
Yeah.
So it's more of a IPA type Christmas beer.
Yeah.
And then who else is brewing, dude?
God, I would have swore there was somebody else. Maybe it was Tim.
Well, Tim.
But Tim's like on a constant brew cycle
He's got
right
30 gallons or some
Yeah.
ungodly thing. He's got root beer and ginger beer and a Rauk beer and an IPA. And he wants to like have all 5 of his taps like connected.
now. Which is great, but if you don't have anybody ever there drinking it, it's going to go bad at some point.
Yeah, ridiculous. So, hey, take the last swallow of that.
No.
Yep, down it.
No.
I got another beer sitting there for you.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, it's a good beer. It's a very light beer, refreshing.
Compared to what I just drank, yes.
In a green bottle, which means it's going to be skunked.
Oh, God, it's going to be skunked.
Because I know it wasn't sitting at 40 the entire time. It was sitting in the middle of a floor in Germany, or in a German delicatessen.
All I can do right now is breathe out straight alcohol.
That's because you slammed the 10%er.
Well, that's what you told me to do. Whew.
Yeah.
Wowzers.
It's not overly skunked. It's a little bit skunky.
A little bit skunky? It's definitely got that green bottle skunk taste to it.
Yeah, it's got a little Heineken taste to
Let me
it.
guess. It's Pollyanna Girl or something.
No, Spaten Oktoberfest.
Ah,
So this is... I haven't seen this in a while.
it's
and-
skunked.
Yeah, it's skunked. Definitely the green bottle kills it. So-
Why the hell do they do that?
Yeah, well, you know, the Europeans like that
I
skunky
just
thing.
don't get that.
It was like all the rage for a while. Heineken's that way, all that European crap. So, but yeah, there you go. Now you got an Oktoberfest beer from Germany.
Skunktoberfest. That's what they should call it.
Imported by Import Brand St. Louis, Missouri.
Of course. Anheuser-Busch.
That's right. But Spaten. Huh, interesting. Well, there you go.
I think they should just call it Skunktoberfest.
Yeah, it's pretty skunky.
It is.
Especially the more you sip and pull on that one. So, well, so it's ski season. I've been watching a shit ton of ski movies.
And I'm pissed.
Why?
Everybody else is skiing but us.
Timberline opened last weekend for a preview day.
And then closed down immediately.
Really? No.
Yeah, all the snow at Timberline's gone.
They had a preview day.
Yeah, and it's gone.
I was just looking today.
I'm telling you, it's gone.
Huh. Well, so a lot of skiing going
At least
on.
everything around the lodge was gone. It was literally gone.
I'm looking at the webcam.
Please do.
I'm looking at the webcam right now. You know what?
And there's no moisture for like the next week.
Oh, there's moisture. Right between my loins.
No, Debbie, save me. Debbie.
Baby powder, talc.
Yeah, and then you'll get the talc lawsuit. Oh, sweet, great, grand.
Just FYI, the cameras are dark.
Huh. Wonder why. No power.
Jeff Flood, dark.
No power.
Palmer Silcox, way dark. Bruno's actually has a little bit of snow on the ground. Timberline Lodge, I see pavement.
A lot of pavement. A lot of pavement, kids. A lot of pavement.
So, well,
Well, they tried. They really did. They got a lot of snow, and then it melted really quick.
Well, that's a preview day. Well, it was 70 today, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, snow's not going to survive that. But we've got other places in the country right now that are doing powder shots to the face.
Oh.
Like Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Powder shots in Jackson Hole.
Beautiful. We've got a couple places, I think, in Colorado that have already opened. There's actually been some banter back and forth about who got to open first.
Wow.
And I think that was between A Basin and I can't remember the other resort involved in that, but it doesn't matter because I loved A Basin when I skied it. Amazing place.
Yeah, well, there you go. 22 degrees right there right now. They've got 34 inches. The tram is closed.
That's at Jackson, right?
Yeah, that's at Jackson.
Yeah, Jackson.
Interesting. Full snow report. They're not expecting snow for the next few days.
No. And then Montana got just dumped on.
Yeah, well,
with
Montana,
a crap load of snow.
They got more snow last week. They got like 6 inches.
Yeah,
last
it was
week.
crazy.
So they're dumping it big time. So, yeah, so I think we're going to have a good ski year. So they talked about on the news today all of these sea urchins.
Yeah.
Purple sea urchins that are moving in from California, and it's because La Nina or El Nino or one of the L's and La's are...
Right.
I think the L and La are actually doing it, and it makes a lot of snow. And so that's scientific.
Well, the only problem is, though, is they've identified the blob off the coast of Oregon again.
Yeah.
Which is warmer water temperatures.
Right.
Which usually means drier, warmer temperatures for inland.
But it's a smaller one.
Let's hope it just disappears completely. Otherwise, we're going to get hosed on snow.
I don't know. It's looking like a good year.
I don't
so
know.
Far. Things are rolling good.
I'm going to keep my fingers crossed because I got nothing but time this year.
Timberline was open last weekend, and that's the earliest I've ever seen them open. So now they're closed now, but it doesn't mean they won't be open next weekend.
Right.
So
right.
We'll see. Yeah. Well, I think I've been watching a lot of Warren Miller stuff.
Are you guys going to the Warren Miller this year?
The big one already passed.
Or are you just going to wait?
I buy them every year.
Yeah.
I think we're going to do a Warren Miller party outside.
That'd be cool.
The last Warren Miller that we had party outside was 2015. And
you're due.
Yeah, and it was the hot cocoa and peppermint schnapps night that turned into the Goldschlager night.
Fuck yeah.
So,
maybe we're not due.
No, we're due.
All right, we're due.
Yeah, we just can't go to Scotty's afterwards.
No, Scotty's is out.
Yeah.
There's no slopes on Scotty's. That's what we got to tell John. There's no slopes there.
But I think it would be fun. When you hit a Warren Miller night, get another
Rager
going.
Yeah.
If you get your Christmas beer going, it would be about the right time in December for it.
Yeah.
So, that'd be good. So, all right, buddy. Well, I think that's all I got. We're sitting an hour and 15.
That's all I got. Although we do have to get out and ski the dunes before I leave.
Yeah, well, it doesn't mean you're not coming back to Portland every now and then.
Well, that's a really good point.
But
I'm not going to fly skis out here to do it.
Well, you're not going to fly. We can go to Goodwill and buy skis.
No. I've already got a pair perfectly set up for it.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
What'd you do?
I got my old teaching skis ready to go.
Yeah, but I thought you needed to get Formica. We need to get Formica and bindings.
No. You don't have to.
Yes, I know.
You can, but
know.
I'd rather not do that.
Why?
That's an added cost.
I'm going to get Formica, and then I'm going to mount a pair of bindings that I get from Goodwill on it.
You got to have a ski with a Formica base, though.
A ski with a Formica base? No, I'm just buying Formica. I'm buying an 8-foot chunk of Formica.
Oh, Jesus.
Cutting it out with a jigsaw.
That's going to be a shit show. Because it's not going to have the stability to hold you up.
It's going to be fantastic, kids. Here comes Jason down the ski hill on Formica.
All the listeners out there, when Jason puts out when we're going to do this, you got to show up. Because this is going to be a shit show worth filming.
You know, my attention to detail is fantastic as well.
Yes, it is.
These skis are very likely to look very different from each other. So it guaranteed will be a shit show.
He's got a square and a circle on each foot.
It's going to be Lane Meyer skiing on one ski down the hill. Lane Meyer, fellas. So, all right, buddy. Well, let's get out of here. We'll be back in a couple weeks with more interviews and more beers. And
hopefully more ski talk.
Definitely more ski talk. This
Let's
is the time
hope.
of year we transition.
Yeah.
Maybe do some interviews as we're brewing this weekend. So
That'd be fun.
But with that, Tim Beers.